Welcome to the Give a Grad a Go prologue with myself, Charlie Baxter from Mind Matter. Here's what's coming up. If your son or daughter has recently graduated and is still confused about what they should do with their life, then listen up, because I am here to transform that confusion into clarity. We're going to dive into a talk that will genuinely help you to be a better parent for them. But first, I'm going to start with some very real reasons why your child is finding it so hard to get a career started and why today's generation needs help. I'm then going to outline how I can help them and why I feel so passionate about this area of life. Moving on to how it works, what the process will be, and the result they will get. Lastly, for those who are still committed to this video, I will give you 3 crucial tips at the end that I have worked out to be the best way for parents to help their children. I would have loved my parents to have known about these, so I'm sure your children will benefit from them too. So stick around. Let me first clarify, I'm here to help people find their way in life. And more specifically, I help recent graduates find a career path that they feel truly passionate about. So, what's the problem then? Why do I think we have this sudden need to have a coach in a world that previously never asked for one, and especially for recent graduates? Well, I would like to confirm right now that no one needs a coach. Coaching isn't a requirement nor a necessity. Coaching is for those who want a better life and want to push themselves to be more than average. But there are some obvious issues for me in this generation of graduates that I'd like to share with you. Firstly, job competition. It's at its highest. Now, this is common knowledge, but if we just remind ourselves that we have doubled our population since the 70s, then that might help understand why graduates in the information generation are different to previous graduates and thus need a different approach to succeeding. With a huge growth in population, the business world is naturally expanding and thus more jobs are being created. A useful website called careerplanner.com hosts over 12,000 different careers to date. And that's just one website. Go back 50 or 60 years ago, it might have been possible to walk down the high street to understand what options you have to start your path. Nowadays though, we have what we call analysis paralysis in the biggest sense possible. There is just too much out there for an individual to choose. I would go into the psychology of choice here, but we don't have time as I want to be succinct with my message. Just to say that it's common knowledge in research giving someone the option actually creates confusion and dissatisfaction with the decision made. On to my next point. Graduates are dealing with the most amount of competition than ever before, and no longer can we expect to be hired right out of the box. So listen up, this stage between finishing a degree and starting a job, or hopefully a career, is lengthening for the vast majority of people out there. And let me tell you, this is such a fragile time in a person's life, and probably the biggest, most important crossroad that will influence and shape their belief system. I saw it happening in real time for me, and I see how it has affected all the friends and acquaintances I know. Whenever I go home and catch up with old school friends, it is highlighted to me so much that they have been shaped by this stage in their life. Being a sensitive time, people generally want out, and they opt out by finding an office job or a very low level job that gives them an income but not much more. If we get to this stage, people find it harder to break out of this lifestyle as we fear unemployment and yet have no desire to do well in the current job that we are at. As I'm sure you have found out with a lack of passion, we tend to deliver the bare minimum of our skill set and get feedback on that bare minimum. Soon enough, without realizing, our self-worth lowers and the prospects of getting that dream job are diminishing. And lastly, a problem that has been around for as long as currency is the confusion of money and status being the pinnacle of happiness. I know you have experienced enough life to realise this, but most graduates do not know this and get totally distracted by the materialistic world that we have created. Money buys a hell of a lot of fun for a young adult and can take someone down a long winding path of momentary distractions. If the lesson that happiness comes from within is not learnt, then we are missing out on our full potential and are simply enjoying a half life. I started off going down that road, but luckily I was reversed out of that a little bit earlier on. I've never looked back, and when I'm reminded of people that were not given this lesson, I feel so thankful to my teachers, mentors, and coaches. That's not to say we don't need money. Of course we do. We live in a capitalist world and we've got to play the game or suffer the consequences. But we can play the game in a smart, intelligent way and not let it rule our life and become slaves to money. So we have a fragile transition ahead for graduates to find that passionate, meaningful way of life before externalities distract and turn one away from their calling. Okay, so how can I help your graduate son or daughter? Well, firstly, I have coached graduates just like your child. Take Sophie, a client of mine who was 22 when she graduated. She felt like she had been left in the gutter by her university with no real career guidance. I took her through my life purpose course, helping her become more aware of what her beliefs are and her interests, then aligning them together. With powerful questioning, outcome coaching, positive psychology techniques, and motivational mentoring, we got to a place that she felt grounded in and sure of what her next step was. She went on to raise money every day for a charity that she loves and is rewarded very well for, both financially and emotionally. Another client was actually nearing 30 and had spent most of his 20s chasing money and aiming for a promotion in his job. He was in finance and came to me because he was incredibly unhappy with how his life had turned out. Although financially well off, he was totally broke. He said to me that he wanted to change gear and spend the rest of his life dedicated towards a mission full of heart. We again went through the process with so many aha moments that allowed him to say goodbye to that comfortable salary and stand up for what he really enjoyed. Amazingly, that was fishing. He opened a small shop with a bigger online store and is now making more than he did before. But the most important point is that he is happy to go to work every day. Both you and I don't have time to go through the exact method of the program. And really, just like if I were to explain how a roller coaster feels, it doesn't give you the result of actually experiencing the ride yourself. What I will say though is your child will be in touch with their own passions, be on the right path, and have drive to succeed by the end of my life purpose course. So why am I doing this? Well, in rapid style, let me outline my background. I went to uni and read psychology, graduating in 2012, but then felt confused about what to do next. My uncle had plenty of contacts for me and asked me, "What do you want to do? I can get you whoever you want in whatever field, you just need to tell me what you want." The problem was I didn't know. I had no faith in my decisions as I felt I had no real experience to make such a big choice. So I was stuck. I tried some lines of work, but nothing really clicked for me. My mother, being a therapist, knew of a psychology coach who could help shed light on this problem. I was really reluctant, but eventually said yes. And as soon as I went and we started having this powerful, motivating conversation, I fell in love with the idea of being a coach myself. I thought it was so cool how unique the approach was and how applied the use of psychology was. I was hooked. But throughout my next 3 years, I actually realized that a lot of the fundamentals of what I love in coaching are in many other careers, and I took my time exploring mentoring, teaching, and coaching sports. I love all of them for many reasons, but the link for me was to help other people. I had no idea that I wanted to help people before that. I was pretty selfish as a student, focused inward and ego-driven. But the feeling I got and still get when I serve someone advice that really clicks with them makes me so happy. And what amazed me is that I have noticed how this feeling is somewhere for everyone. And since January last year, I have been helping people discover where this feeling lies for them with really cool results. So that's me. I have a bachelor's in psychology, a master practitioner level in NLP, and I'm constantly developing my professional game every day. Now let's briefly discuss how it works. My Life Purpose course starts with a consultation on Skype. Now this is free and I'm happy to meet anyone who believes they need help. The next step, if I think we are a good match, is to enroll on the 6-week coaching program. This includes a Skype coaching session every 2 weeks with additional learning materials throughout. Then step 3 is optional but highly recommended, which is mentoring once a month for 6 months following the end of the 6 weeks. The process is simple. A graduate comes to me if they are confused about what they are interested in or what their passions are. I take that confusion and replace it with inspiration. Your son or daughter will come away feeling inspired and excited by the endless possibilities they really do have in life. Then that curiosity will take action, and throughout the 6 weeks they will realize how they are slowly but surely becoming more and more driven to live a life with meaning, and thus go on to progress with passion. And what does that give? Happiness, success, love, wealth, and a pretty good life. Okay, so that's my course, and being that you have reached the end of this video, it shows to me that you are committed to helping your child progress with passion. So I want to serve you right now and give you 3 of my favourite pieces of advice to help your graduate son or daughter. So here goes. Number 1, be a smart parent by communicating with their state and not their behaviour. What do I mean? Well, I always wondered why my coach was able to make me think so positively compared to my parents. And don't get me wrong, my parents are great and incredibly loving people, but still I wouldn't want to interact in the same way with them. And I've decided that it comes down to making contact with my state rather than my behaviours. So for example, my parents would always ask physical questions about what I'm doing today, or have I made any progress, or have I sent any of my CVs out today? Now that was irritating to me and didn't encourage me to do anything. I almost wanted to rebel and not get myself out there and not progress. Whereas my coach was asking questions like, how would you feel if you managed to send out 10 CVs today to companies that excite you? Or what would having an interview set up give you? Hopefully you can see that these questions are requesting the same thing, but the latter are getting me in touch with my state and emotions, which is where motivation lies. We are emotion driven, and so connecting me with a satisfied and euphoric feeling of accomplishment in that simple question made me want to jump out of my bed and get emailing. So, aim to connect with their state and not their brain. Number 2. However wise you are, however much experience you have, you are only going to truly affect your child's opinion or outlook on life if you time your advice with their needs. This might seem obvious, but so many times I've been on the receiving end of advice that is valid and useful, but I just don't want it at that moment, and so I devalue it, which then ruins the precious piece of wisdom when the time is right, because the next time it's heard, it will be recognised as repetition and not treated respectfully as the profound insight it is. So, timing is everything. And lastly, number 3, be very careful of spilling your own bias onto another person's future. We naturally all gain experience as we grow and encounter life, and it's totally natural to want to share that with your children. You want to teach them about life, and many are beyond necessary and required as a fantastic parent. But when it comes to advice about a career, I've spotted how different people's suggestions are about the exact same problems. And the reason being, we are all unique. We all have different experiences, and you know that, but keep this in mind when giving advice. If you did well in further education and went on to be a successful lawyer, it's obvious to say, and I say this in a respectful and caring way, that your child really might not be a good lawyer, or benefit from further education, or even be able to remember things like you do. However, with this concern, many parents turn a blind eye to the talents of their children. If a child is doing well in art at school, but their grades in maths are low, so many parents will think we need to get them a maths tutor. But really, we should be getting them an art tutor. Push them further in what they love, and you will be amazed by how much potential they have. So appreciate that your life is your life, and your child's life is your child's life. Alright, so thank you so much for listening, but that is only half of what you need to do right now. If you think I could help a confused graduate that you care about, then please send them my daily podcast that will help inspire, ignite, and motivate them. You can do this by clicking the right button below and entering their email address. Lastly, if you liked my 3 golden nuggets of advice, I have an extension of this called The Essential Advice I Wish My Parents Had. You can get this by clicking on the left button below and telling me where to send it. Thank you so much. I look forward to serving you in the future. Goodbye for now from me, Charlie Baxter, at Mind Above Matter.